Okay, pump the brakes. She wasn't dying. Don't make it sound like I was going after him when his mama was dying in the hospital. That's not what happened.
You're listening to Let Me Tell You Why You're Wrong.
Welcome to episode 165 of the Let Me Tell You Why You're Wrong podcast. I'm Dave Roberts. With me is my partner in crime, writer, journalist, published author, Jessica Szilagyi.
Do you ever wish we had a shorter title?
Sometimes. Especially when it comes to getting a web page.
I mean, you enunciate so well.
I try.
Let me tell you why you're wrong.
Well, I don't want to come out, hey, y'all, y'all wrong. Here's why.
That's shorter.
It is shorter. It is shorter. How was your week?
Oh, it was fine. It was just fine. How was your week?
Good. I mean, busy.
Yeah.
But good. It turns out Mom does listen to the show.
Your mom cares about what you do?
Yeah. I posted the show up on my Facebook, and first comment was my mother saying, I did listen, thank you.
Yeah.
So, hi, Mom. I'm using the new mic.
You sound the same to me.
Yeah, well, I don't know what all the buttons do, but...
Mm-hmm. Well, congratulations, though. I mean, honestly.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Trying to moving on up.
Yes.
Trying to be like 80% of what Shane Hazel does on his audio.
Okay, keep trying. You can do it.
So what about Geraldo?
I don't watch like nighttime or daytime news. Really, I try to avoid it at all costs. But I saw the headline about when he he clashed over the Dante Wright protests. Did you see it or did you hear about it? It just made me laugh.
Just when you sent it to me, Geraldo Rivera was doing a talking head debate with Dan Bongino, I think his name is. Dan was a former New York City cop and a former Secret Service agent. And I think Dan accused Geraldo of wanting to see America burn, and Geraldo came back with, "You son of a..."
Yeah, and he called him a punk. I didn't know people still said that.
You know, a lawyer, television personality, called a former cop and Secret Service agent a punk.
On live TV.
On live TV. Yeah, I thought lawyers were supposed to be a little smarter with their words. And of course, everybody has a bad day.
Geraldo's been having them for 77 years. I don't like him, but and what did he say back to him? He told him to take a Valium and a muscle relaxer.
Something like that. Yeah, look, Geraldo was the same guy that he and his brother were embedded when the Iraq War began. And apparently the reason they were thrown out of country, if I'm recalling something from 20 years ago, is he says, well, I can't tell you where we are. And then he draws a map in the sand. But if this is Baghdad, this is where we are. Which, just because you didn't say the name of the city doesn't mean you weren't giving away valuable intelligence. So they threw him out of country. That was my understanding of what happened. But I remember. Sorry, Eric. I remember Geraldo going back to the 90s and 80s with opening up a safe that turned out to be empty. I mean, he was a daytime TV host. It doesn't mean none of his points are valid, but screw Geraldo.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. But I did like that he lost his cool.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Also hilarious, Arizona Attorney General Mark Brnovich. Yeah, that's as bad as your name.
No, that's way worse.
BRN.
That's 3 consonants before a vowel. Mine, I only have 2 consonants in a row, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
BRNOVICH sues a Biden administration for not studying the environmental impact of more migrants coming to the U.S.
I think it's hilarious. Like, he really just piled on and found like multiple left-leaning angles and threw it back at him.
Well, we'll see if it goes anywhere.
No, but I mean, it's kind of like the legislature. Like, if they're wasting time on frivolous stuff, at least they're not ruining lives.
Yeah, but they're taking up federal court time.
Sure, but
you know, if for not studying the environmental impact, that's about the worst thing the government can do is study anything.
Well, sure, but so in the complaint, it said migrants, like everyone else, need housing, infrastructure, hospitals, and schools. They drive cars, purchase goods, and use public parks and other facilities. Their actions also directly result in the release of pollutants, carbon dioxide, and other greenhouse gases. All of these activities have significant environment impact. Poorly written if that is not a typo by reason.com. But if you're not going to talk about the impact that it has on our social programs and our infrastructure and everything else, or even our tax system, because a lot of people do pay taxes. I mean, if you're not going to have that conversation, like, I think it's just what he's trying to do is slap them around and say, well, you guys care so much about the damn environment. How much you talk about it in that capacity? If you won't talk about everything else that's costing us a fortune, and I don't care what anybody says, it does cost money.
Sure.
He's just giving them a taste of their own. He's not going to go anywhere. I mean,
no, it's not.
How do you measure how much an individual? I mean, I know they do, but like, how do you measure that and then put it in court? And then what? Like, let's say that they tell us how much, the border migrants are costing us in pollutants and carbon dioxide. Then what? Do we bill them for
carbon dioxide? That's the one that makes me laugh, is the carbon dioxide. Because they produce the same amount of carbon dioxide for the environment, whether they're in Guatemala or in Ciudad Juarez, Texas. I mean, they're still exhaling the same amount of carbon dioxide.
Yeah. It's funny.
It's true, though.
It is.
It's absolutely true. I mean, I don't know, man. That's just being an outdoorsman, it kind of breaks my heart when you see where the migrants have been coming through with, obviously they don't have bathroom facilities, and because they are on the move, there's no desire to create a cat box and bury their refuse or anything else. It's just strewn about. Human beings, all animals, if they consume something, they have to expel something. Mm-hmm. And that with wrappers and everything else, the 2-liter bottles and everything else. Yeah, it's heartbreaking to see something that is a pristine environment destroyed. Man, the border crisis is just so easy to fix. Do away with the incentive. Well, now I'm going to tread lightly here, but when you go camping in bear country, they tell you how to take care of your trash, how to take care of your food, hang it from a tree, that kind of stuff, to not attract something that's going to come and cause damage. So you do the same thing when you have our handouts, our liberal policies on both behalf of Democrats and Republicans, by the way. When you have these generous handouts, of course you're going to attract bears. That's what happens. If you hang something out that's tasty, you're going to attract something. And if you take that away, you take away their motivation, there'd be no reason to come up here. And doing away with a lot of those policies would I can't scroll through Facebook without seeing 10 companies that are hiring right now because we can't get people to get off their asses because you make more money on unemployment.
Sure.
So what Americans are unwilling to do, there are a bunch of people from Central and South America going, hey, I'll do it.
Yeah. And so, I mean, yeah. I'm with you there. And I don't, I don't think we should just take the incentive away for them. We should take the incentive away for a lot of people. I mean, but that's another,
amen, sister.
that's another
Preach.
conversation for another day. But Biden, we talked a little bit about when he first was sworn in, and then all the executive orders that he started signing initially. And I don't think I understand, like the migrant protection program one, the MPP, where it says if you're seeking asylum, you have to go back to Mexico to wait for your hearing. The asylum process, I mean, they do speed up the process because you're seeking asylum, but why would he repeal that? I mean, we don't have a place for them.
Why? Because it's all about optics. It's all about reversing what the other guy did. It's all about reversing what the orange man did. Because it's more important to him to get to stick a knife into Trump and his supporters than it is to actually take care of the country. Look, we have to motivate people to work. And since government has no role motivating, we need to do away with the incentives to not work.
Well, and government not only doesn't have a role to do it, but it's incompetent at actually doing it. I mean,
right.
They suck.
We've had the conversation before, and I think on the show several times. Why don't I believe in conspiracy theories? Because I don't think the government's good at anything. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the border wall is costing us more now not to finish it.
Aren't there like penalties in the contracts and everything too?
Yes, exactly what I'm referring to. I'm not even talking about the societal or the taxpayer drain or anything else. At this point, all these contractors, they're called contractors because there's a contract.
What?
Oh, I know. I'm breaking news here. Contractors like contracts. So
it's almost like they did it to protect themselves.
Oh, almost. Almost like, all right, daddy government, I'm going to get in bed with you, but we're going to use protection. Oh, my God.
But so, I was about to say, you talked about the optics, but they're not actually not building they're still doing everything that leads up to a border wall.
Right. After promising to stop land seizures, the Biden administration just stole a family's property for a border wall. And by stole, they mean eminent domain, which is theft, in my opinion. Absolutely, it's theft. Look, eminent domain is not. Look, government at all levels abuses eminent domain. Donald Trump was known to abuse eminent domain as a businessman. Mm-hmm. And take people's homes to build his hotels, casinos, a parking structure. I think was one of them where he was trying to take somebody's house. Economic development, right? And economic development is never a good reason for eminent domain. Never. Well, in this one that they're talking about with the Biden administration, I guess it started in a lawsuit under Trump, but the Biden administration didn't stop it and didn't. They allowed it to go through, I guess, and which I don't really understand. Like, why would you not withdraw the lawsuit if you've ended funding for the wall? Why would you do that? We're utterly devastated, said Dila Cavazos. Man, just loading me up on names I can't pronounce. Of course, if I had read all the stories before we got on air, that would have helped too. Whose family owns land in Hidalgo County, Texas. We thought President Joe Biden would protect us. That's where you went wrong. Now we've lost our land. We don't even know what comes next. Well, nothing comes next. You lost your land. That's the end of the story. I mean, you're not getting it back. Yeah, this is mine now. And I love how The Hill and everyone report it as a seizure. Like, but they're not, I don't know. Is it like they called it a seizure, then they called it a land forfeiture?
And the guy said, I'm very disappointed in Biden. I thought he was a man of his word, but apparently he's not keeping his word. He said not one more foot of wall and no land forfeitures. We took him at his word and we want him to keep his word.
Whoo! You'd shine him up and put him out front in the next presidential election.
And then apparently there was supposed to be a, I guess like a review done by March 20th so that I guess Biden put it in place when he signed all those executive orders, and he said he wanted to see all the resources that were being allocated, and that they missed the deadline. So that's pretty cool.
Well, this is a retired couple that uses that land for income. And look, we shouldn't have to pull heartstrings to say something's right or something's wrong.
Well, the government's doing it. They're saying that a national emergency is the reason that they're taking this guy's land.
No, I get it. I'd say it doesn't matter what the reason. Stealing from the citizenry is wrong. Mm-hmm. The fact that they use this land it doesn't matter if these people were billionaires and this just happened to be their hobby farm. It doesn't make it right to take it from them. So what this couple is discovering is what the WHO told us many years ago. Welcome the new boss, same as the old boss. And that's when administrations change, we get a lot of fluff and a lot of stuff that's going on in the ancillary, in the wings of what's going on. But the central stuff doesn't change. Statists are still statists. Whether you have an R after your name or a D after your name. So it's not that if Trump had won, he'd still have his land. No, but they said that since I guess the reason that Biden asked for that review was it allowed them to get continuances in court, and then they missed the deadline, and so there's apparently 114 court cases pertaining to the border wall in some capacity against the federal government because that have been filed since. Wow. Yeah. So. I don't know, man. I 115 if you include the attorney general from Arizona. Well, look, I like I said before, the whole border wall thing would be less needed if we took away the incentive to not work for Americans and the incentive away from people in other countries to come here. Now, look, asylum means you're coming here for safety, and when you seek asylum, you go to the first safe country. But you don't come here looking for economic asylum. And we absolutely should have a very generous immigration policy. We need people. Our birth rates are down. We absolutely need people to come in and do a lot of jobs that we don't have labor for, and that's fine. And if that's someone's coming here to produce, and someone's coming here to start a business, to bring a service to this country, great. Let's get you in line, get you processed. But when you like Chinese nationals that come here on what do they call them? It's like birth tourism, where they'll fly here when they're 9 months pregnant, have a baby, and that baby is now a citizen, then fly back home, and now that baby always for the next 18 years has a way back in the country. So I don't know. I'm getting off in the weeds. That's how the immigration discussion goes, though. I mean, it is. It is. I would like to see a modification to the birthright citizenship. Really? How? How would you fix that? I don't know. I mean, first of all, you'd have to. It would take a convention of the states. Yeah. That the birthright citizenship was always meant to give citizenship to freed slaves. It was never meant to have this idea that you could hop across the border, pop out a kid, and that kid is an American citizen forever. It was a measure to make sure that the former Confederate states could not disenfranchise freed slaves. And of course, things are never written correctly. They have wide, sweeping repercussions that at the time the authors don't look at. So the intent of the amendment was never to grant citizenship to somebody who is here illegally, to somebody else who's conceived with somebody else who's here illegally, and then to be born, and then, okay, you're a citizen now. That was never the intention of the amendment, of the clause in that amendment.
Right.
So I don't know. It would take some lawyers smarter than I am to sit down and say, well, this is what we intend. We intend that if every person born in this country to legal residents are offered citizenship. But I don't know how you clamp down on the baby tourism.
How does it work in other countries? Tourism. Like if I was born, if my parents were traveling and I had been born in Kuwait,
I'm relatively certain you're not a citizen of Kuwait. There are caveats.
Military bases, parents that are international parents. So you're born in the UK, but your father's American, your mother's British, and there's different caveats to that. Mm-hmm. But I can't think of any country around the world where you just happen to be in the country that day, pop out a kid, and all of a sudden they're entitled to everything that's offered to their citizens. It's unsustainable. It's absolutely unsustainable. But again, we're getting off on the weeds as the clock is ticking by. Fine.
In Georgia news, the Griffin-Spalding County School Board approved a resolution supporting BLM at its April 13th Board of Education meeting.
Yeah, this one, I don't know why the school board did this. I mean, yes, they're elected. Yes, they can pretty much do what they want because as the state constitution is outlined, they answer to the governor. They don't technically answer to the people. So they have more autonomy than, a board of commissioners or a city council or something. But the language of the resolution is not just it's a hefty political statement. They ask for Americans, they're calling on Americans to dismantle white supremacy and grapple with the sins of our past, and that these nationwide protests are in response to what happened to George Floyd and other unarmed African Americans, because they were not a result of just a bad apple, that it was a, quote, predictable consequence of a racist and prejudiced system and culture that has treated black bodies as the enemy from the beginning. And it's one page, and they voted on it 5-1, and the reason I wrote about it was because they passed it on a Tuesday, and then on Wednesday, of course, hardly anyone was at the meetings because they don't engage in their local governments. And then they found out about it on social media and started swirling around. And by Thursday, even though it was passed, the school board or the school system deleted the resolution off their website, which I think is super crappy because, well, one, you're not supposed to do that. And two, why would you do that if you're confident in what you did?
Where might somebody find a copy of this resolution that was deleted?
www.thegeorgiavirtue.com.
There you go. I'll keep teeing them up. You keep knocking them out.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity.
On your show.
But no, I don't understand why they did this. Like, what good does it do? And they're not even calling for anything. I mean, is someone going to be like, well, I wasn't going to dismantle white supremacy, but I heard the Griffin-Spalding County school system approved a resolution, and so I'm going to hop to it.
I'm trying to figure out what I'm the supreme commander of, because it sure as hell is not my home. I mean, I'm trying to figure out what exactly I'm doing, but what? Get back in your damn box, Jesus! You're a local school board. Why don't you worry about educating those little things that you have running around the hallways and government buildings? Why don't you worry about how to better prepare children coming out of your district, Spalding County, to find out to let them be better prepared to be productive adults or good students in the next level in college? Why not focus on, because I know there's Griffin Tech down there, on getting the kids that maybe going into a technical field prepared to go to tech school. There's so much wrong with public education in this country that this is what they're worried about. They're worried about kissing the ass of a communist organization. And hell, remember, communists, first person they kill when they go into a country, Che Guevara, were teachers. You jackasses. The first person that they kill when they come in, round up the teachers and you whack them. That way, the government is completely in control of the education of the young people. And that was the way Che Guevara did it. So all those little bastards running around with their red Che Guevara t-shirts, you have my permission just to pimp slap them. Explain to them exactly what Che Guevara was. Off on another hog trail, I know. I'm going to get a phone call, too. Dave, on this stupid podcast, it's okay to slap people wearing a Che Guevara shirt.
I need a moment. I
do that. Do that.
No, I think my favorite line from the whole resolution is that the school system has a critical role to play in creating an equitable society which is intolerant of intolerance.
Do what?
They have an obligation, a vested interest to make sure that society is intolerant of intolerance.
Do they realize that they invoked the Austin Powers thing? If it's one thing I can't stand, it's people. Or there's two things I can't stand: people who are intolerant of other people's cultures, and the Dutch.
And I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's dumbfounding, which is awesome on a audio media, just to be speechless and dumbfounded.
Yeah, this isn't the first time I've read it, but reading it again, like every time I look at it, I'm like, I see something else, I guess. And, they say that they support Black Lives Matter because all lives matter. First of all, I thought you weren't allowed to say that, or is it just us, people like us, that aren't allowed to say that? But slavery, Jim Crow, and segregation were systems of legalized and monetized white supremacy for which generations of black and brown people paid an immeasurable price. That cost must be acknowledged, and the privilege that accrued to some at the expense of others must be reckoned with and redressed.
Recognizing that this country has a not the best history with race relations is in itself not bad. Absolutely. Let's celebrate where we've come and say, obviously we would love to get racism and hate out of everybody's heart, but that's not the role of government. The systemic racism within government is gone. It's gone. You're not going to be able to control people's hearts. The one Jim Crow law that is still on the books, concealed weapons permits. 100% designed to keep firearms out of the hands of freed slaves. Absolutely Jim Crow law. But that one seems to be okay.
Well, it addresses an end goal. But, my question is, if all of this is true, and this school system has been around for so long, why are you doing such a job educating children, and why do you have to put out a resolution? Why haven't you raised and educated generations of people who believe what supposedly this resolution is supposed to resolve? I mean, what are you doing?
Well, how about teaching kids that there is no excuse for failure? Oh, the system's against me. You know what? Study harder. Successful people don't look for excuses. And this is not what I want my school board doing. And obviously I don't live in Spalding County, but that's not what I want a school system doing. I want a school system teaching children to become productive adults. That's all I care about. is preparing them to be productive adults. Whether they're going to medical school or they're going to dig ditches, I don't care. They need to be prepared to be productive adults. They need to come out of high school with a basic set of skills. You need to be able to read at a certain level so that you can be informed and you can do your own research. You need to be able to do basic math and hopefully have a basic understanding of how government works. And then obviously, if you want to prepare kids for the next level, that's fine. That's great. I mean, we absolutely need doctors. We need lawyers. We need architects. We need all those people to make a society work. But doing this, I don't see how that accomplishes any of this. How that teaches any of their kids how to be productive members of society. What it teaches them is if you don't get ahead in life, piss and moan. And look for somebody to blame. And look for a system to blame. And the successful people who I know don't. But this is a good time to remind you that these are our opinions and not those of anyone not on the show or any respective company for which we may work, own, or otherwise associate ourselves with on a regular or irregular basis.
No,
Dun-dun.
no, that's not
Dun-dun.
the sound I made.
Dun-dun.
No.
That's not the sound you made in your head when you typed it out?
No, you try it again.
Well, sing to us,
First
Jess.
of all, you said "dunna," which is not enough words.
Oh, you're like Jiminy Cricket in my headset. You know that?
Dunna.
So Vernon Jones' big news announcement. Oh, okay. Yeah. That would be Sports Center. Vernon Jones' big announcement Friday. Governor. New York Times reported Thursday night he joins Appling County educator Candace Taylor in the Republican primary to unseat.
I can't think of a worse person to run for any office anywhere other than perhaps Savannah Mayor Van Johnson or Park Cannon. Well, I could probably think of a lot of terrible people, but I don't know what Vernon Jones is doing. The guy has a record a mile long.
And not a great record. Okay. So Vernon came up through, and he's an educated guy. He went to school in North Carolina. Worked for MCI Communications. Worked for Bell South in the corporate world. Then in, I think, 2001, he becomes the DeKalb County CEO.
Which is the most messed up position in our state anyway, other than maybe like public service commissioner or something. But
yeah, so he's surrounded in scandals.
A bunch of people while he was elected went to prison. Yeah,
all around him. And you know, he steps out like, you know, a phoenix out of the flames. Even in that limited role, I think he was smacked with like $7,500 in ethics fines for taking too many donations or too high a donation from certain members, from certain people, which he had to, under the agreement, return the excess contribution and obviously pay a $7,500 fine, which is a huge ethics fine.
Yeah, it's usually like $125.
Right. So this was not a one of the I forgot to file something.
But did he pay it?
I don't know. Did he pay it?
I don't think so, because he owes like $25,000.
Yeah, outstanding. So we've got the ethics violations there. We've got, I guess, in 2017, he runs for state. During this time, he runs for state senate, fails. Runs for something else, I think, fails, and finally wins a House seat.
He ran for sheriff.
He ran for sheriff of DeKalb County, and there's nothing in his bio that tells me he's post-qualified.
He's a modern libertarian conservative.
Okay, that's from this Wikipedia page. Modern libertarian conservative. Yeah, I'm not sure what that means. I mean, individually, I know what each one of those words means, but together, I'm not sure what they mean. He's got a really spotty record with this stuff. And look, everything I hear about Jones is people like him, and it's very, very common. Obviously, that's how you get into politics, is you're likable and people like you. I was talking to some state reps the other day. We were talking about Vernon. Like they said he's just a different cat, man. He's a pro-gun Democrat. This is obviously before he decided to jump ship. Pro-gun Democrat, walks in the house in a cowboy hat and cowboy boots and stuff like that. And he's well liked down there, but he wasn't liked enough to show up to vote. He missed 100 votes. I think is the number you gave me.
In 1 year.
In 1 year, 100 votes.
In 40 days, he missed 100 votes.
That's
impressive.
One session. And these are votes where these are unexcused votes for the most part. And we've talked about it on the show before.
Votes. Yeah, it was 100 votes where he was present but didn't cast a vote. Like he wasn't absent. He just didn't vote.
Yeah, and look, there's a certain amount of fluff with stuff that happens. They'll get a vote on some resolution to name a state building or something stupid, stuff that they vote on, and some reps or if they're in a meeting with constituents or whatever, will miss that vote because it's just not that big of a deal. But 25% is a big number. Well,
you're also supposed to put an E up and be excused so people know you're not on the floor.
That's true too.
So you don't end up like Bill Werkheiser and have someone voting for you when you're not there.
Well, he immediately played victim when this was brought up. It may have been to you. You may have called him out on. But he was talking about it was either his mother. I think it was his mother was in the hospital and she was dying. I guess he got a phone call and left immediately. Again,
okay, pump the brakes. She wasn't dying. Don't make it sound like I was going after him when his mama was dying in the hospital. That's not what happened. She was ill, and he was like running back and forth between the hospital and that was only on the last day. That wasn't all 100 votes. It was like, I don't know, 30 of them. And all he had to do was put an E up. He's just lazy, but he kept coming back. Like he'd vote a little and then he'd leave for a little while. Like he just wanted to give the impression that he was in two places at one time.
Well, that's the thing is, look, if I'm your boss, and you come to me and say, Dave, I need to go. My mom's really sick in the hospital. Can I take the day off? Even Ralston has some human emotions. Be like, look, Mr. Speaker, my mother's very sick. I need to run to the hospital. He said, you're excused. That's all you have to do. It's the same courtesy that you would give any boss. You don't. If you're a checkout clerk at Publix and you hear that you need to run to visit your mom in the hospital, you don't just leave with your drawer open and split. You say, okay, and then you go tell your boss, look, I've got to go. And then you do whatever you need to do to the proper process of leaving.
Well, you can leave your drawer open and split, but you're not going to have a job to come back to. And Vernon did.
Right.
I met him when I lived in Atlanta. I think we've talked about that on the show.
We have.
Yeah.
Nice yoga pants.
Yeah, we didn't have a very good interaction. We met at the gym, for anybody who's new.
Yeah, I meant to harass you a little bit when we brought the story in and mention your yoga pants, but
yeah,
it's important to note I cannot see Jessica.
Yeah, but he's just trash. I mean, he's a trash ethically. He's trash in his character. And the issues with his residency, I mean, he was dishonest about where he was living, and then he changed political parties right before the decision about his residency was going to be ordered by the Ethics Commission, like a couple of days before, and nobody even like blinked an eye because they're like, oh my God, this black Democrat is supporting Donald Trump.
Right. And here's the thing. We talk about his residency, and we've talked about it on the show before. Apparently, in between, or at some point after his first election to the House in 2017, whatever it was, he moved, and then when he ran for re-election, he used his old address to stay in district because he knew that he could win.
Otherwise, he would have had to go up against a colleague.
Right. So we already have that. We already have that was coming out before he magnanimously decided that he was not going to run for re-election because he just didn't agree with the party. Yeah, he was already busted for not living where he said he was living. That's a fairly big deal.
And
unless you run for Congress, Lucy McBath, then you can live where the hell you want, apparently.
But instead of taking the heat for it, he just came out for Donald Trump.
Right. And look, he may very well agree with Donald Trump. He's quoted as saying that he supported W. He supported Obama, and then he supported Trump.
Okay. No libertarian has ever voted for Barack Obama.
This is probably true. So this is all window dressing with. And I really thought he wanted a job on Fox News, and he probably could have had it. And his interviews are great. I mean, and I'm talking about from a stylistic standpoint, the way he set his office up to do these sort of Zoom interviews on cable news. He's got the American flag to one side, the Georgia flag to the other. He's got all the stuff behind him. It's set up. I mean, it portrays the perfect image of exactly what he wanted to portray, and it was done very, very well. And from a PR standpoint, I'm pretty impressed with it. But you can't ignore his past. This is not ancient history. This is not when he was 30 years old. This is not young Vernon running the streets at 20. He's 60 now, I believe. So even the stuff as DeKalb County CEO, he was in his 40s. This is not a kid. This is not youthful indiscretion.
Well, and what is his obsession with being elected? Like he ran and was a House rep in 1992 until 2001. Then he was the CEO. Then he did all his little time in county office. Then he ran for United States Senate. Then he ran for U.S. Congress. Then he ran for sheriff. Then he ran back to the House. And now he wants to be governor. He has spent the last 30 years running for office.
Yeah, it's the same thing. The same problem I have with Karen Handel. Why do you want it so much? And I would ask Vernon the same question is that I talked about with Candace Taylor. Okay, it's now end of March, beginning of April, 2020. What do you do? You're sitting in that big house in Buckhead. What do you do? And looking back without looking back with hindsight, benefit of being a year later, what do you do? You just got the election results. As governor, what do you do? Don't tell me about Secretary of State. That's a separate constitutional office. What do you do as governor? I mean, really, if he wanted to work on fair elections, why isn't he running for Secretary of State?
Well, I want to know, because, there's the rumors that Jeff Duncan isn't going to run again. And, I mean, from our lips to God's ears, hopefully he won't. But why wouldn't you run for that, too? It would be, you'd have, why are you, I don't think Kemp is the end-all, be-all by any means. I don't think, I've said before on the show, I think he handled COVID like a champ. I don't like everything he did, but relatively speaking, I've been quite pleased. I've not liked all of his initiatives that he's pushed through the legislature, through his floor leaders. But I also don't think he broke the law and conspired with China with our elections. I say all that to say, he's not the worst problem we've got. And they're going to get Stacey Abrams elected.
You think Stacey's going to run?
I do.
Well, the AJC also speculated about possible gubernatorial candidates. Chris Carr. U.S. Rep. Buddy Carter.
Boo.
Doug Collins.
Boo.
Kelly Loeffler.
Abso-freaking-lutely not. Ruffles are just about to be back in because she's gone out of the limelight, and women are going to be allowed to wear ruffles again without trying to look like Kelly. And this chick is going to try to swoop back in the political realm. No, I'm not having it.
And Herschel Walker.
No.
For governor. Man, governor is one of those positions where I want to see some executive experience, which I don't see with Candace Taylor. I don't see with Vernon Jones.
Well, he did have the CEO position. I'll give him that.
Yeah, and everybody went to jail around him.
Yeah, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying he did a good job. I'm just saying he did sit in an executive spot. I will.
Yes, for a short time, as all his loyal troops fell on the sword. Yes, he was technically an executive for a short time. Oh man, but I want to see somebody with some sort of experience. I want to see somebody with gravitas, and I don't see it in that list. I don't necessarily think Herschel Walker would be bad running for office, but I probably wouldn't start with governor.
Mm-hmm.
And, not that I dislike the guy. I think that maybe if you want to serve the people of Georgia, which he doesn't even live in Georgia at this point, this would be him moving from Texas back to Georgia in order to run.
Yeah, no thanks.
Also news, Senator Jen Jordan is running for Georgia Attorney General against Democrat Charlie Bailey in hopes of challenging Christopher Carr.
Yeah. I like Charlie Bailey. Like I voted for him, not just because he was challenging Carr, but because I actually like some of his positions, especially on open government and stuff. And so I'm really disappointed to see her running because like Charlie Bailey came pretty close to defeating Chris Carr 3 years ago or whenever that was, 2018. Yeah, 3 years ago almost. And like, we know Democrats are going to have a higher turnout. We know they're going to work harder. He announced way earlier this time, and she's screwing it up. And in screwing it up, like, her platform is that, I mean, she represents Atlanta. She's in Cobb. So Hunter Hill gave her his seat because when he ran for governor in 2018, he abandoned his seat because he didn't finish his term, cost the taxpayers a special election, and the Republicans gave up the seat in Cobb County. So thank you, Hunter. But she represents Atlanta and Sandy Springs. She's from Eastman, which is a talking point of hers now because apparently we're supposed to think, oh, she's some cool country girl. And then she details like all about how she fought against Kemp's heartbeat bill. Well, that's cool and all, but like, I mean, of course she's a lawyer, but what are you doing here? Like, what are you going to do? Why are you using this as a platform to talk about how you fought against Kemp's heartbeat bill when there's a guy who has a plan talking about the open government division and the lawsuits that are between states, and I don't always agree with all of them, but like he has a plan.
Well, here's a quote. He seems to be more the governor's lawyer than the people's lawyer.
Okay, well, she's an idiot because he is the governor's lawyer. He's the state's lawyer. Like, if you call the attorney general's office or you read it in the Constitution, his office is to represent the state of Georgia. And that doesn't mean the people. Like, quite literally, he represents all the government entities. If I file a complaint against the city of Claxton for open government issue, they're mediating between me and the city of Claxton.
As the state.
As the state.
Right. And look, Chris Carr has been unabashed about the fact that he does not represent the people of Georgia. He represents the government of Georgia. But
that's the job.
I understand. I'm saying, but he's been unabashed about that and very clear. But sure, this sounds great in a campaign mailer. He's not operating as the people's lawyer. Yeah. Read the Constitution, the state Constitution.
And I think that we've shown that women, elected females in office, by and large, are terrible if they are also attorneys. Like, the district attorneys that have been female, not so good. Why would we elevate her to the state's highest legal position?
Thank you, Miss Gloria Allred.
Thank you.
Worst feminist ever.
You're welcome.
So Warnock has two challengers. Latham Sadler an Atlanta banking executive and U.S. Navy SEAL veteran, opened his candidacy with an announcement highlighting his tours in Afghanistan and Iraq and his tenure as National Security Council official for the former President Trump's administration.
Yeah, we're going to be in trouble if we're going to just go the veteran, like I'm a veteran route, because the other guy, the other GOP guy running is also a veteran. Kelvin King.
Yep.
Which I love our veterans. That's not the issue. It's just that's not a qualification.
No, it's not. It as part of your resume, it's fine. This is my background. But when you lead with, "Oh, I'm a veteran." Well, okay. Well, November 11th, go to Shoney's. They give you free breakfast. Gee, Dave, why do you hate veterans?
Pretty much.
Man, I don't know enough about what where he is. He says he's running apart because he's concerned about China's growing influence and fearful that our country being undermined from within by a broken political system lacking authentic leadership. Well, Hoss, the senator is not my leader. You have Senate leadership and they lead other senators, but the idea is to be a servant, not a leader. I'm tired of people saying, elect me, I'll be your leader. I don't need a leader. I need a servant.
Well, yeah, and I don't really want someone who equates to leading a state who thinks that's the same as running into a war zone.
Look, and I get the part of it of understanding how to handle high pressure situations and all that stuff, but the vote for me, I was a SEAL. Like I said, I don't have a problem with being part of your resume. It just is. It's a job you had for a period of time.
And we should know. We should know what you did in your early.
Yeah, absolutely. It goes to building a resume, but you need to really tune into what are you going to do. China's becoming a problem. Well, what, as the junior senator from Georgia, can you do about China? What are your plans? He said in an interview he opposed the $1.9 trillion federal stimulus measure, backed the state's controversial election rewrite, and was skeptical of the pending $2.3 trillion infrastructure proposal that Biden is promoting. Right.
Again,
even if elected, he can't go back and change that. Obviously, he can say that with a 50-50 split, if Georgia sends me to the Senate, I can block things like the infrastructure bill. He could, with 50-50, he could block packing the court. That's really the stuff that we need to be talking about, not, I oppose the stimulus. Well, so did I, but neither one of us had a vote. Quote, I'm an outsider. I'm so tired of that damn word. You can't tell me in one breath. I was national security. I'm the inside. I'm an outsider who also understands and appreciates policy. There's a thirst for a next generation leader who is authentic, who genuinely loves this country, and who understands that I'll have to work to earn their support. And of course, he is joining Kelvin King, a Atlanta small business owner in construction and Air Force veteran, who jump-started his campaign was last week. And then we have Jeff Duncan, who probably isn't running again, as you mentioned. Is he just going to be a sacrificial lamb for the GOP?
I hope.
Man, what has he done right?
Nothing.
Well, I mean, I assume he swung the gavel and hit the desk with it. Of course, gravity had a lot to do with that.
Well, I mean, he was only in the minor leagues. So I don't know how good he is at hitting things.
I think it was a pitcher, so probably not very good. But it's been scandal after scandal with him, and he doesn't handle the press well. When I think Dale Russell showed up and started asking him questions about some travel thing he did, And instead of doing the right thing, which is turn around, shake Dale's hand, and say, Dale, I would love to talk to you about that. I don't have the information on hand, but let me get you in touch with my schedule person, and we'll have a sit-down interview, and we'll address all of your concerns right now. Instead, he brushed by, I don't have time to talk right now, and just kept walking. And that's the worst thing. That's what feeds Dale Russell's children. If people just turned around and talked to him and addressed it and gave him their side of the story, he wouldn't have a job. Well, maybe he would. It wouldn't be. He wouldn't have to do the gotcha stuff. If people just handled things like an adult, like, hey, I've got a question for you about your travel to, I don't know what it was, New York or something. I don't know what it was. But I have a question for you about this. You turn around and say, you know what, Dale? I would love to talk to you about that. I don't have the information here, and I don't want to be on the record going off the top of my head. Let me get back in my office. Let me have my secretary give you a call, and we'll set up an appointment for the next couple of days if that works with you. And then Russell would have had nothing to run with on Fox.
But he got elected by avoiding questions.
And demagoguing his opponent.
And playing the baseball card.
I did.
See what I did there?
I see what you did there. So witty.
I know.
Yes, but even his commercials were him throwing a baseball. Like, look, I'd love to sit down and have a beer with Jeff Duncan and talk about baseball. I'm sure he's got some really cool insight from being in the minor leagues and bouncing around the bus leagues and all that stuff. Probably got some cool stories. But that's not a campaign platform. We are really getting some buyer's remorse out of the 2018 election.
I'm not. I didn't vote for any of these
collectively.
fools. Except Kemp. Well, I'm not about all that collectivism.
It's like I spend an hour talking to my wife. You're just wrong. No matter what Dave says, he's wrong.
Ha ha, wrong again.
Jessica, do you have any closing thoughts?
Yes. Okay. So, by the time the show drops, it will be out there already, of course. But the MyPillow guy, Mike Lindell, or however he says it, he's starting his own social network called Frank, and it's supposed to be the free speech social network. But he's going to ban users who use the Lord's name in vain. And again, that's his right, of course. If he pays for it and sets it up, but you can't use 4 swear words. You can't say the C word, the N word, the F word, or God's name in vain.
Now, private property, don't have a problem with it. If I take offense to using the Lord's name in vain and you're in my house and I say, look, you're not going to use that language, use it again, tell you to get out, fine. That's my right as a private property owner. Fine. But you can't say free speech. No, free speech, we've already demonstrated society has a hard time with it. 4chan and 8chan, those sites where Q came up, were all free speech sites. This is why you found bigots, you found Nazis, you found everything else. Free speech is ugly. But you have to be willing to defend it. I don't know. I did enjoy seeing that David Hogg folded up his pillow company because work is hard. And the meme that I put out that he literally lost a pillow fight. I don't have anything this week. I will defer to yours since I piggybacked on yours. So if you like what you heard, please like us and share us on social media. If you don't like what you heard, inflict us on your friends. Make them download and listen to it. And we make really good dinner companions if you just want to sit the family down and hit play on your favorite device and have the kids get educated. And tell the kids this is what you don't want to become. So for Jessica Salahaji, for Eric Cumbie, our editor, I'm Dave Roberts. Have a great week.